Imagine walking into a dealership, signing papers on your dream car, and driving off feeling like $1 million. Fast forward 2 years, the brand collapses. Dealerships close. Your resale value drops 40% overnight. Parts become impossible to find. Your warranty becomes worthless paper. That nightmare is reality for owners of these 10 brands right now. Here is what most buyers don't understand. When an automaker enters financial distress, you feel the pain first, not the executives in boardrooms. Your 5-year-old vehicle that should be worth $20,000 suddenly can't find buyers at $12,000. The dealer where you bought it closed last month. The warranty you paid extra for, the company filing bankruptcy, means those promises evaporate. Parts for your specific model year backordered indefinitely because the factory stopped production to cut costs. This isn't speculation. This is happening right now across the industry. Major brands are closing factories, cutting tens of thousands of jobs, and bleeding billions in quarterly losses while still advertising heavily on television like nothing's wrong. They need your money today to survive tomorrow. And when tomorrow comes and they don't make it, you are left holding a depreciating asset with no support network. The automotive industry is facing the most violent transformation in its 100-year history. Electric vehicle transitions require investments these struggling brands simply don't have. Chinese competitors are building better cars for less money. Legacy costs from pensions and outdated factories are crushing profit margins. Dealers are consolidating or disappearing entirely. The brands that dominated your parents' generation are dying, and they're taking owner equity with them. Today we're counting down 10 car companies teetering on the edge of financial disaster. Number 1 will shock you because they're still selling millions of vehicles globally, while quietly bleeding billions in losses. These aren't failing startups. These are household names your family trusted for generations. And if you are not paying attention, your next car purchase could become your worst financial decision. Stick around because skipping this video could cost you tens of thousands in depreciation. Number 10. Nissan once stood as Japan's second giant with the GT-RZs, Series and Altima as icons. By 2018, they sold 5.2 million vehicles globally, with strong profits. Then Carlos Ghosn's scandal hit in 2019, leaving behind fleet sale dependence and aging platforms. Sales collapsed 35% to 3.4 million by 2023. North American sales fell from 1.6 million to 900,000 units. Nissan reported a $304 million Q1 2024 loss versus $477 million profit the year prior, announcing 9,000 job cuts and plant closures. The Rogue has CVT failures triggering NHTSA investigations. The Altima feels outdated. The Area EV arrived late. Over 120 North American dealers closed in 2023. A 3-year-old Altima loses 55% value versus 42% for a Honda Accord. Parts wait times stretch months. Analysts expect merger or bankruptcy by 2027. When automakers struggle, owners pay first. Number 9. Maserati. Maserati, once crafted hand, built Italian Grand Tours that commanded respect. The Ghibli, Quattroporte, and Gran Turismo were aspirational. Then Fiat Chrysler tried turning it into a volume brand, sharing platforms with Dodge and Chrysler. Build quality collapsed. Sales fell from 36,500 in 2014 to below 15,000 in 2023. North American sales dropped from 13,000 to 6,000 annually. Stellantis reported an €82 million Q1 2024 loss versus $121 million profit prior. The brand ranks dead last in J.D. Power dependability. Consumer Reports won't rate most models. A $90,000 Ghibli loses 70% value in 5 years. That is $63,000 evaporated versus 45% for a Mercedes E-Class. Dealers are disappearing, merging with Alfa Romeo showrooms. Parts take months. Maserati will go electric only by 2028. But who trusts a brand that can't build reliable gas engines with battery packs? When luxury brands lose money and credibility, owners suffer. Number 8. Jaguar. Jaguar represented British elegance with the E-Type, XJ sedans and heritage. Then decades of ownership chaos followed. Under Tata Motors, sales peaked at 180,000 in 2018, but collapsed 64% to just 64,000 by 2023. North American sales dropped from 40,000 to 8,000 annually. The brand discontinued the XE, XF, and F. Jaguar will stop selling gas vehicles entirely and rebrand as ultra-luxury electric, only above $120,000 starting 2026. The first model won't arrive until late 2026. That means virtually no sales for over a year. Jaguar Land Rover reported negative 3.7% operating margin in 2023. The brand loses money on every car sold. A $70,000 F-Pace loses 65% value in 5 years, versus 42% for a Porsche Macan. Dealers are shrinking fast. Parts take months. If you bought a 2020 to 2024 Jaguar, you are holding a discontinued product line. When automakers abandon segments, parts dry up and resale values plummet. Number 7. Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo carried racing heritage with the Giulia, Spider, and GTV as icons. Fiat revived it in 2015 with the Giulia sedan, and Stelvio Sevi reviews praised handling. Sales started strong at 23,000 North American units in 2018. Then the collapse hit. By 2023, sales dropped to 10,000 units. Global sales fell 62% from 150,000 to 57,000. Stellantis announced electric. Only by 2027. The problem is credibility. Alfa ranks near bottom in every reliability survey. The Giulia has engine problems and electrical failures. The Tonale PHEV faces recalls for software glitches. Alfa lost $240 million in 2023, despite record pricing. Dealers are evaporating, merging with Fiat or Jeep. A $55,000 Giulia loses 68% value in 5 years versus 48% for a BMW 3 Series. Parts are Alfa-specific and imported from Italy. Wait stretch weeks or months. Stellantis warned brands not meeting profit targets face closure. Alfa fits perfectly. Number 6. Chrysler. Chrysler was an American titan, with the New Yorker and 300 defining luxury. Then decades of bankruptcy and ownership changes followed. By 2024, Chrysler sells exactly 2 models: the 300 sedan and Pacifica minivan. Sales collapsed from 277,000 in 2015 to 112,000 in 2023, a 60% drop. The 300 sold fewer than 25,000 units before discontinuation. That leaves only the Pacifica. Stellantis announced electric. Only by 2028, but Chrysler has no EV credibility. The Pacifica Hybrid faced recalls for fire risks and battery failures. Chrysler generated $6.8 billion revenue in 2023, but posted an operating loss. CEO Tavares stated, "Brands not meeting profitability will be eliminated." Most dealers now operate as Jeep, Dodge, Ram Chrysler showrooms. A $45,000 Pacifica loses 62% value in 5 years versus 48% for a Honda Odyssey. The current Pacifica ends production in 2025, with no replacement until 2027 at earliest. Parts supply will decline and software updates stop. When brands have 2 models and no clear future, buying is financial suicide. Number 5. Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi once dominated rally racing with the Lancer Evolution and 3000 GT. The Evo was a tuner icon. The Montero conquered Paris, Dakar. Enthusiasts loved affordable performance. Then Mitsubishi abandoned it all, killing the Evo and turning Eclipse into a crossover. Sales collapsed from 345,000 in 2002 to 102,000 in 2023, a 70% freefall. Nissan acquired controlling stake in 2016 and turned Mitsubishi into a discount sub-brand. The Outlander Sport has CVT failures identical to Nissan. The Mirage is rated one of worst new cars with cheap materials and weak engines. Consumer Reports doesn't recommend a single model. Mitsubishi posted a $480 million net loss in fiscal 2023. Revenue dropped 12%. The company cut 30% of its lineup. Over 60 dealers closed in 2024. A $28,000 Outlander Sport loses 68% value in 5 years versus 47% for a Honda HR-V. That is 6,000 extra depreciation. Parts distribution is shrinking with weeks, long waits. Finding qualified technicians is nearly impossible. The Outlander PHEV is the only electrified model, and it is plagued with issues. Nissan's struggles mean investment is drying up. Analysts predict Mitsubishi will merge into Nissan or exit North America by 2027. That means orphaned vehicles with no support. Number 4. Lincoln was America's premier luxury with the Continental as the choice of presidents. Then Ford spent decades rebadging Fords with different grills. The town car was a stretched Panther platform. The MKZ was a Ford Fusion. Sales collapsed from 234,000 in 2000 to 83,000 in 2023. Ford discontinued the Continental, MKZ, MKT, and MKS. The brand now sells only SUVs, competing against Cadillac, Lexus, BMW, and Mercedes. Lincoln generated $9.4 billion revenue in 2023, but operates at break, even or loss. Ford CFO openly questioned long-term viability. The Navigator has transmission problems. The Aviator PHEV faces battery recalls. A $65,000 Aviator loses 66% value in 5 years versus 52% for a BMW X5. Dealers operate as Ford, Lincoln showrooms with Lincoln occupying small corners. The current Nautilus ends production by 2026 with no replacement. Lincoln's first EV won't arrive until 2026 at earliest, years behind Cadillac, Mercedes, and BMW. When luxury brands enter decline, owner support cuts first. Number 7. Jan Acura. Acura launched in Itian-jo by Bachelot as America's first Japanese luxury brand. The Integra became a tuner legend. The NSX challenged Ferrari. Then Honda abandoned rear Jan wheel Jan drive and started rebadging Hondas. The TSX was an Accord. The ILX was a Civic. Sales peaked at Arshuan-jo-ten in Liaotian-wu, but dropped to Zhouwen-T10 in Liaotian-Arshasan. Acura discontinued the RLX, ILX, and NSX again. The brand now sells SUVs and one sedan. The Integra, which is a rebadged Civic. Honda announced electrification by Liaotian-Arshatsi, but Acura has no electric credibility. The brand contributes less than 5% of Honda corporate revenue. Honda executives question whether Acura should continue standalone or fold back into Honda. A Wuhan-Wuchen MDX loses 50 Gen 8% value versus 40 Gen 5% for a Lexus RX. Dealers operate as Honda Gen Acura showrooms. The brand is just expensive Honda, with no price premium justification. Industry analysts expect Honda to merge Acura back or reduce it to a performance sub-Jan brand by Liaotian-Arshabah. Number R. Jan Buick once sold over Chidin Lin Futa vehicles annually representing American comfort. Then, it became the retiree brand, with average buyer age hitting Nushabah. Sales collapsed from Arbadin, Lin in Liaotian-Wu to Liuwan-Qiqian in Liaotian-Arshasan. A 70 Gen 6% freefall. GM discontinued the LaCrosse, Regal, Cascada, and Verano. Buick now sells 3 SUVs built in China or Mexico. China keeps Buick alive with Liu Balin Lining units sold versus Liu Wen Xichen in North America. GM executives stated Buick survives only because of Chinese demand. The problem is Chinese brands like BYD and NIO are stealing share. Buick's China sales dropped 15% in Nanjing with another 20% expected in Nanjing. If Buick loses China, the brand has no financial justification. GM announced electric Gen only by Nanjing starting with the Electra U, imported from China. But American buyers don't trust Chinese Gen-built EVs. A $10,000 Enclave loses 60 Gen 4% value in 5 years. Dealers operate as GMC Gen Buick showrooms. The brand contributes less than 3% of GM's North American revenue, while requiring separate networks and budgets. The moment Chinese sales collapse, Buick will be shuttered. Number E, Gen Volkswagen. Here is the shocker. Volkswagen sells over 1 million vehicles globally every year. The Golf is iconic. The Tiguan is popular. Dealerships are full. The brand looks healthy on surface, but underneath, Volkswagen is quietly bleeding billions while facing existential crisis that could collapse the company by Nanjing. Dieselgate. In Nanjing Yishuwu cost $100 billion in fines and destroyed engineering reputation. VW then bet billion on electric vehicles. The ID.CEN and IDC launched to weak sales with software glitches. VW's EV sales hit just 10,000 in Nanjing Futa Ursus, Tesla's 1.8 lion, and BYD's 1.9 lion, that is, catastrophic return on investment. In Q-Sen Nanjing VW reported 40 Gen 2% drop in operating profit. Net profit fell to 1 billion from 2 billion. Revenue dropped 8% despite selling more vehicles, meaning margins collapsed. The company announced closing 3 German factories for the first time in Bosch's Jan year history. 30,000 jobs will be cut. Production capacity shrinks 20%. The core problem is China. VW sold 1.9 lion vehicles there in Nanjing, dominating the market. By Nanjing, sales dropped to 1.1 lion, a 30.5% collapse. Chinese brands like BYD steal share with cheaper, better EVs. China represented 40% of VW's global sales. Losing that market means losing profit that subsidized everything else. North American sales fell from 45,000in Nanjing to 354,000 in Nanjing. VW discontinued the Beetle, Passat, Golf, and GTI. The Tiguan has transmission issues. The Atlas has electrical problems. The IDC faces recalls for software bugs. A $10,000 Tiguan loses 60 Gen 2% value versus 40 Gen 8% for a Honda CR Gen V. Every IDCS old loses money because development costs are high and volumes too low. VW needs to sell 1 lion EVs annually by Nanjing to break even on investments. Current sales are 6 times below target. The math doesn't work. Industry analysts warn VW faces potential bankruptcy or forced merger by Nanjing if bleeding doesn't stop. When automakers this large start closing factories and cutting tens of thousands of jobs, owners feel impact first. We've walked through 10 brands at the edge of collapse, from Nissan's CVT nightmares to Volkswagen's profit freefall despite massive sales. The pattern is clear. Brand names don't guarantee survival. The industry faces violent transformation. EVs, Chinese competition, and debt are killing brands that dominated for decades. The lesson is simple. Research the company, not just the car. A great vehicle from a dying brand becomes terrible investment. Depreciation accelerates. Dealer networks shrink. Parts vanish. Warranties lose value. Before signing, check financial health. Read analyst reports. Understand ownership risks. A $5,000 discount today can cost $20,000 in depreciation tomorrow. Which brand surprised you most? Drop a comment. If this saved you from a bad decision, hit like and subscribe for content that protects your wallet.